So now I'm going to show you my walk. Now my walk is going to be a little different from Valerie's, simply because Valerie and I are two different people. Now her body style and her body type, she's a little bit shorter than I am. Her legs are a little bit shorter than mine. The way that she walks is a little bit lighter on her feet. I'm a little bit heavier. So you're going to see the difference in my stride is definitely going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to have a little more intensity in my walk than she had in hers. But it's always a good idea to know your strengths. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to practice and watch yourself in the mirror and see, this is my walk. This is where I can add my own personality and my own little flair, my own little signature. So you're going to notice as I'm walking that my stride is a little bit longer than hers. My hips are going to spread out a little bit wider than hers. So when I'm standing at the end of the runway, my legs are going to be a little farther apart. I'm not going to put too much weight or jet my head up too much. It's just going to be a slight little bit, just enough so that the photographers at the end of that runway can get their shot of whatever it is that I'm wearing. And then you just do a nice little turn and walk back to the beginning of the runway. So I had spoken earlier with Valerie about how important your posture is, and I just want you to notice that for me, you can see that my chin is back, that my head is over my shoulders, that my shoulders are over my hips. And that's going to be really important to remember as you're walking. Try to walk as upright as you possibly can. You don't want to be bobbing, you don't want to be dancing to the music, you don't want to be running down that runway. So remember to keep your tempo and keep your pacing at a speed in which people are actually going to be able to see what it is that you're wearing. You don't want to run down a runway. You don't want to be hoofing it down the runway. You want to make sure that you have a good speed so that you're getting there and back in the timing that you need to in order for the next model to come out. But you're not going too slow either. It's a very fine line that you're going to be walking when you're walking this runway. And that's always a good idea to have a rehearsal, and usually you will have a rehearsal before your runway show. So that's always a good opportunity for you to figure out your timing and know exactly how quickly or how slowly you should be walking. Something that's always a good idea to try to avoid when you're starting to figure out how to do your runway walk. A lot of girls think that they need to exaggerate their walk, and they end up looking more like a Clydesdale. So you want to avoid picking up your knees too high and really putting your feet down on that runway. I know you want to have that intensity, and that's really what you're going for. And a lot of times if you're watching runway shows at home, it may look like they're doing that. That's not the case. It's really much more subtle than that. If you have intensity, that doesn't mean that you need to be forceful with your walk. So like for me, as I'm walking, you can see I have intensity in my walk. I have a purpose in my walk, but I'm not overly exaggerating. I'm not slamming my feet down into the runway. You don't need to try to overcompensate because of the audience, because you're in a larger space. Don't feel like you need to do that. Remember, it's all about the clothes. It's all about your presence. If you have that presence, then you won't need to overcompensate that way. It's more about a confidence than it is about slamming your feet into a runway, about exaggerating your walk. It's just, it comes more from within, which is why you just need to keep practicing and practicing.